probably would have been a good move to watch the other two John Wick movies before this. Yeah, it probably would have been a good move. We got John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Is it Parabellum? I mean, probably would have been better if I had researched that before we started making this video, but Parabellum. Let's just call it Parabellum for now. Anyway, if you guys don't know what Parabellum means, then I would suggest not researching it before watching this movie, because there is a cool one-liner which involves the word Parabellum. So don't research what it means, because it undercuts the one-liner. Trust me, I know, because I was dumb enough to research it right before I went into the cinema. Yeah, me and my friends were having an argument whether it was Italian or not, and well, I won. Let's just say that. Oh, even though I didn't guess it right either, but when you're like me, if you don't lose, it's almost a victory. Anyway, enough about the title and more to the movie. Parabellum, I still don't know if I'm saying that right, by the way. Well, it's a work of art. So the plot of John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, is John Wick has to go somewhere, and then a little bit more, and then he comes back. And a little bit more happens in the plot, which I'm not going to give away, because that's a spoiler. And trust me, you want to know as little about the plot as possible, so you won't be disappointed, okay? There's no plot in this movie. And when John Wick goes to that location that he's going to, every scene is either a fight scene or a conversation he has with an old ally, or someone that owes him something. And that being said, though, the fight scenes in this movie are some of the best I've seen in recent years. The action movie thing hasn't been going well, and John Wick continues not to disappoint with its fight scenes. That and Mission Impossible being the two best action franchises, I do agree with that. However, they have very different styles of fighting. Mission Impossible is all about that jaw-dropping stunt that Tom Cruise does at one point during the movie. And, well, John Wick Chapter 3 is all about how well choreographed each of these fight scenes are. Both leads, Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves, are doing an amazing job at their stunt work, and I implore them to keep going, and I feel like John Wick Chapter 3 in a few years' time will be at the standard that Mission Impossible is at with its action scenes. I mean, in hand-to-hand combat, I'd say that the John Wick series is the best, and that's really shown by its budget, as in Chapter 1, in the first John Wick, had a low budget, and that really tells the difference. Chapter 1 had some great action, a lower budget, and Chapter 3 had some equally great action and a much higher budget, which means they had a lot better set pieces, and the set pieces almost made this film. Believe me, when a movie has no plot, the set pieces are pretty important. In the last half an hour of the film or so, it's non-stop action, and some of the set pieces they use are just incredible. So good job, set piece people. So as action goes, it's almost maxed out, with the camera work also being a huge part. The camera work continues to be extremely impressive in this series, and I hope it continues that way. When you've got good choreography, there's no point in not showing it, and Hollywood is always in depth between quick cuts and shaky cam, so it's really refreshing when every 2 years a John Wick movie comes along and, well, has wide shots. There is a problem with wide shots, but it is by far the best camera work in an action franchise in recent time. And when you've got a combination of great choreography, camera work, and settings, I mean, you've got a pretty good action franchise. Now, the problem with wide shots is that you don't feel any pain, and they know that in this movie, because in the first movie it was all wide shots. John Wick felt invincible, because he was just rolling over guys. It takes you out of the moment, because you don't feel the intensity that the fighters are feeling as you're watching it all from a wide shot. And that is the one problem with wide shots, but that being said, wide shots are where action movies do need to go. Now, by far the biggest problem with this movie is the fact that there is no story. As I explained earlier, it's just John Wick has to go somewhere, and then he comes back, and he makes a choice. Which, by the way, makes no sense in the form of his character development, the choice he makes, but he just basically screws the entire arc that he was going on a certain arc, and it's like, zoom. I understand it to some degree, but it felt out of place. It needs some more time to develop. There's no story. He goes somewhere, he comes back, and everything in between is an action scene. The action scenes are always good, but when you have a 2 hour on it, I don't know how long this movie was, it felt like 2 hours. Let's just say 2 hours. 2 hours of non-stop action, the action will inevitably feel repetitive. It's okay if you switch between horses and dogs and motorcycles and horses, but eventually every punch-up scene will feel the same. Like, there's one with books, and then there's one with swords, but when you're at your third action scene with handheld weapons, they feel the same, especially at wide shots at all times. Now, yes, the pacing has a flaw because you get the first half an hour of action, then it drops for 10 minutes, then you get another half hour of action, and then it drops for 20 minutes, and then you get another half hour of action, essentially. Yeah, so the pacing's a little whack. It's almost a refreshment sometimes when they weren't fighting, because eventually you'll get bored of almost any action scene. The proof is in the pudding. I watched this movie with two of my friends. One of them came out and said that he almost fell asleep because of how repetitive this was. Now, John Wick doesn't suffer from this as much as a Marvel movie would, in my opinion, because Marvel movies, they've been the same, all the superhero stuff, they've all felt the same. John Wick is kind of a fresh taste now, but I guarantee if John Wick had come out 5-6 years ago, it would have just fallen under the repetitive gunk. I explained this a lot more in my The Problem with Marvel review. However, the best thing about this movie was the colors. I don't know, I saw the trailer and I was like, wow, that's a lot of good colors. Now, it may sound weird, but the cinematography in this movie is stunning. The color work, it's just amazing. Like, that's a work of art. When you've got a great action scene, some great choreography, and you've got a great mix of color work and camera work, that's what makes the John Wick franchise, and I hope that's how it continues. And as I said at the beginning of this review, the way that the movie throws you in is almost a little shocking, because, to be honest, I haven't seen John Wick Chapter 2 since it came out. So it's been a while, and yeah, it just throws you straight in, and you're expected to remember a lot of it. It does slowly, throughout the movie, explain it to people who haven't seen John Wick Chapter 2 yet, but I can imagine it being fairly confusing. Guys, thank you so much for watching another movie review. Definitely one of the better action franchises at the moment. Thank you for putting up with me till the end of the video, if you have put up with me till the end of the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I made a video on morgues, but I just haven't edited it yet. Bye.